Welcome to the Wise Dome podcast, a series that is so much more than just a podcast series. This is a movement towards a lifestyle you know you deserve. It's all about the ease of inspiring and sharing your knowledge and experiences online. I'm your host, Nikki Kelly, and I have always admired those who share their wisdom, those who have decided to inspire others. Just like my guests, I found my version of inspiring others by sharing my wisdom and created a lifestyle I wanted, and I'm going to share all the secrets for how you can too. On this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Remember, inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire? Today, we're chatting with Deanna Figurito. Deanna founded DFig Connect Coaching and Consulting. DFig Connects was born out of the passion of one person to empower people to take the courageous steps to live life authentically, to live a life aligned with their values. DFig Connects helps show others that it's possible to live the exact life you want and deserve. Deanna, welcome to the Wise Dome podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki.
Lovely. I was excited to actually be chatting to you, and I would love it if you could share with our audience how you got started with your coaching business.
Sure. Thank you for asking. So I kind of got my chops in business in New York City. I came up for the past 13 years working in advertising, technology, and media. I'm really climbing that corporate ladder and was on a hamster wheel to the top. Like you think it's to the top, but you're really on a wheel. Yeah. And going I was enjoying it, but I was a little bit distracted by the money and other things that were going on. And at the time I was single and I was traveling a lot. So I started going on yoga retreats often. And I went on a yoga retreat in Peru, and that's where I met my now husband. I met him on Tinder nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And I was scouting locations actually to start my own yoga retreat business. So then I launched a yoga retreat business, being like, I could do this. If I'm going on these retreats, I could do this. So I launched that alongside my tech career. And then my boyfriend at the time, was going to move to the US to live with me for a few months to determine the next course of our relationship, and flew to Peru to bring him back to the US with me. And at the border, they separated us and he was detained. And for 10 hours, they went through his phone, and then they sent him back to Peru and banned him from the US for 5 years. I was there when it happened, which was really traumatic and upsetting. And it felt like a human rights violation, the fact that they went through his phone and everything like that. So I flew back to Peru, I married him, then moved back to New York. We came back to New York a few days later. Was okay, let's figure out this long distance marriage, running my yoga retreat business, working in corporate. And at the time I was working for Pinterest, which sounds really cool. It sounds like a great job, but it was a culture that didn't really fit for me. And I was getting really burnt out and wasn't happy there. I didn't fit in at the company. I wasn't happy. Something was misaligned in my values, because I started to have panic attacks and feel sick all the time, have those Sunday scaries. I went on antidepressants and things like that. So I had so much going on. I'm flying back and forth to Peru all the time to see my husband. I'm running the yoga retreat business, which includes going on these retreats. And I'm running my own book of business at Pinterest. Yeah. So I was asking Pinterest at the time to relocate me to Sydney, was one option, our Toronto office, our London office. Maybe we were opening offices in Brazil. And so they were kind of dangling that carrot, okay, if you just if you just hit this goal, or if you do this, we'll move you. And at this time I start hearing, rumblings of a global pandemic. And I'm like, oh my God, if I don't go to Peru soon, I'm not going to be able to get into the country. So I quit my job because I was so unhappy. And I hopped a flight to Peru. I fled New York City. I left my apartment full. My mom and my sister had to go into the city, and I flew into Peru the day before the borders closed to the world for 9 months. And
oh my God.
and I just kind of like started fresh. Like my husband didn't have an apartment because he had given it up when he moved to the US. So he was just kind of like in Airbnbs and stuff until I got there while we decided what we were going to do, what our life was going to be. Yeah. So we moved right into an Airbnb. We went into quarantine together, which was so hard because we had never been together for more than 3 weeks at a time. We moved into a quarantine together. That was horrible. And we were like in a very strict quarantine for like 4 months. Australia had pretty strict quarantines too. So like that, then you might know the feeling. The US didn't have it as bad. So it was like a free for all over there. So my friends don't necessarily understand what we went through over here. Yeah. So, and I also just didn't have any friends and no family around, and no, like normally when you move somewhere new, you have a job or you have like kids that would maybe give you a social life or a dog or something. Like I didn't have that. I was at the age where I just didn't like really have any of that community. So I was like very alone. So I took the time to like work on my burnout. I took the time to like understand what it was like to be still for the first time in a long time. Yep. And I took the time to get to know my husband and like learn how to be married and be like a partner to someone. And get to know myself for the first time. It was probably the first time I wasn't working since I was like 12 or 13.
God, you actually got to stop.
Breathe. So and it was so hard. It was so hard to stop, like to just, that's what I worked on. And that's what I worked on with my own coach, like not feeling guilty for not working right now, like for that moment, those moments. And so then in December of that year, I launched DFIG Connects Coaching and Consulting. And that was born out of the fact that I loved, in the yoga retreats, I really loved creating these transformational experiences for strangers and kind of bringing them together and helping them to like find themselves, find connection with others. And then also throughout my career, my 20% project at Pinterest and multiple other roles, I would mentor, coach, help entry-level grads get their own job. People always send people to me for coaching. So I knew that I wanted to do that. I knew I was interested in it. So I launched it in 2020, and it kind of started where I was career coaching one-on-one. And then I pivoted in 2021 where I come into corporations and I help build their leaders. So I build out leadership programs, both for mid-level management, for women's groups, and I give workshops, offer group coaching, offer one-on-one coaching. And that's all been virtual to this point. So TBD on where that's going to go.
Yeah. But isn't it amazing? Like you had to, the carrot was dangling and you had to sort of hope you could move somewhere or work somewhere else, an alternate different, location. And in the end, we're all online now, aren't we? So,
like that didn't need to be that way. First of all, I probably didn't have to leave. I probably didn't even have to leave that company to have moved to Peru, right? Because everyone's online. Even him being not allowed in the US, it was horrible.
Yep.
But at the same time, if that didn't happen, maybe I wouldn't have left my corporate job and started this business.
Yeah.
And maybe I wouldn't have slowed down and learned what it was like to be still and learn that corporate New York City didn't work for me anymore and that this wasn't a fit. I needed that stop point. I needed that stopgap to really realize who I was. I was getting really lost in the culture of New York City and like tech and kind of the shiny objects there.
It's a good point you bring up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was humbling.
I think a lot of us who went through lockdown but so many people through lockdown had to stop, didn't we? We just all had to reevaluate a few things and find ourselves again. So that's, and it's how you transferred that into creating this coaching business.
And also what happened to everyone when they did that? Now there's the great resignation. Everyone's quitting their jobs.
Yeah.
They're leaving relationships that aren't working for them. They're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So there was a great reset. And at the risk of sounding privileged, even with Miguel, my husband, being kicked out of the country, I was more upset at the fact that happens to people that have no savvy, no money, and then there was all these people during COVID that lost lives, all these things. So at the risk of sounding privileged, there were elements of it that were good, that were a reset, that shifted perspective on the world and the way that you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Going through to that, the set of, obviously you're burning the candle at both ends, and you started your wisdom business. When you started your wisdom business, what were the steps that you took? Because obviously you're in a different country and there's an audience that you have to build. Or did you actually already have an initial audience that you utilized and translated across to this new business?
So I did. Good. That's a great question. I had two audiences. I had one from the luxury yoga retreats audience. So I already had a little bit of a wellness audience that followed and believed in some of the rhetoric that I would be discussing.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a following from there. And then I had my corporate audience. So I had clientele, and I had people that I knew that would listen to me, that I had an influence over. So I combined those audiences into multiple media streams, essentially. So you're talking about a newsletter. So starting to message them on a newsletter, starting to message them on LinkedIn, starting to message them on Instagram and Facebook as well. So I combined that all to come together to the DFIG Connects audience and started to messaging them and, just seeing what resonated. The first thing I started doing actually before I even launched the business was I started offering free meditations during COVID. So every Wednesday night I was offering free meditations and just kind of brought people together, and it was connecting people. And I love that. I love doing that. So that was one of the first things, creating content and just offering it out to people that might be interested. And it was fulfilling too. It was meaningful.
Yeah. Well, you needed to meditate, so I might as well get everyone else meditating.
And I offered meditation when I was at Pinterest, and I teach meditation. So I like it. I like doing that. And I like the discussions that come out of it.
Yeah.
So I took those audiences. I started offering the meditation. Then I started offering other things that were happening during quarantine. That was yoga classes and just kind of different content that I thought might stick. I interviewed an acupuncturist. I interviewed a psychic on Instagram Live. So I started to just kind of see what resonated with the audience. And then I shifted it into an actual brand audience. First the emails were just coming from me, and then I shifted it to coming from the business.
Right. Okay. So there was more of a direct. So you built that marketing, branding, I guess, along the way. So, and what it does come down to really, when, especially a lot of people, when they're starting a content business or wisdom business, it does come down to who it is that's delivering it, isn't it? So it's the trust you've got to build in you as a person, and offering the free meditation is just an unlocked door that allows them to discover who you really are. And if they've got that, feel.
Some free workshops too. I started to give values workshops and just different workshops that I would test out on this audience and then bring into corporations.
Well,
but that's the struggle there with being an entrepreneur, right? Because if you're the content, if you deliverer, essentially, if you're the messenger, then you could potentially become the product, and then that's harder to scale. So that's been something that I've been I've struggled with, and I've gotten to kind of try to learn how to scale. So I've been trying to make hires, and I'm trying to, get a copywriter, get someone to do my social media marketing so that it sounds like it's our brand voice, and it is our brand voice, but it's not me doing it alone, because I am pregnant. And I'm 7 months pregnant. So I'm going to have to go out on maternity leave in 2.5 months. And someone's going to have to run the business, and it's not going to be me.
No. And you do need to build up that team. And that is a huge, important component. You've got your content and everything, but you need that support for the content. And look, it's the same on every level. I know with us, we went through this about 8 months ago, and I had to bring on more of a team to help the message come across. You've got to get that team built. You most importantly need that team built.
I need it now. So, and being persistent, having them persistent. So I would say I started in November building, trying to build the team.
Yeah.
So that was a year after my launch. So I was kind of a one-man show for the first year. And then I brought on a business ops person, and she helped me to kind of build out foundational systems in my business. Then we determined our course of action. We had like a 1-year anniversary relaunch where we offered all of this content, which was great to kind of like put stuff out there. So we had like a values workshop. We had from the Great Resignation to the Great Retention. We brought on someone from L'Oreal HR. We had a recruiter come on, how to get hired and make hires in a hot market. And we had a values workshop. I think I might have said that. And then a yoga class that was like focused on values. So it was like all this content. And that was like this exciting relaunch. And then in the meantime, we're trying to build a team. So then we brought on a PR person that is kind of working on getting us out there. And now I'm hiring a social media manager, a copywriter, and an enrollment coach, which is basically someone that's going to bring on corporations to work with us from a leadership standpoint. So yeah, the impetus for that is like, let's have someone in place in June when I have this baby, because the business has to run. And that's the thing about being the breadwinner. Like I'm the breadwinner in our family. So I have to make sure, and I'm a female entrepreneur. So it's hard when you're on a maternity leave in the US at least. And I'm US headquartered, even though I'm in Lima. There's no real coverage for maternity. Yeah. So I have to just make sure that the business is running by itself and it's scalable and it's proper. So that's why the team's being built right now the way it is. And I'm excited about that.
No, that's really good. And you've answered the question I was going to ask next, which was, were there any major lessons that you learned through the process of building this?
I coach one-on-one, but I don't thrive there. I thrive coaching big groups. That was a better fit for me to go out and find corporations where I can go coach a whole group. You're making a bigger impact on one to many.
Yeah.
And that's also there too. So I knew that like both from a revenue standpoint, if we eventually wanted to move back to New York City, which we do, to generate the revenue, I would need to live there, which is about 3 times the amount that I need to live in Lima. And then also have a team doing the things that, quite frankly, I don't want to do, which like I didn't get into business to do things that I don't want to do. Right. So hire people that like doing the stuff you don't want to do, your compliments, right? So they're doing what they want to do, which is in line with the business, like, ethos, essentially, that we want your value, what you're doing to be congruent with your values.
With respect to actually your coaching business then, was there any particular lessons you did learn with how you delivered the coaching business, like that you could offer or let our audience know of, that, a struggle that you may have come across, or audience that told you this and you said, okay, I'll change this?
When we coach people, we talk about having saboteurs and having your leader within, right? So your saboteurs, your inner critic, and they do things that could self-sabotage you. So it's like self-sabotaging thoughts or behaviors. Mm-hmm. And then there's your leader within, which is your intuition, or whatever you want to call that, God or whatever, that tells you like who you really are, your real intuition.
Yeah.
And when I let my saboteurs get the best of me, I fail. So it's like I had a huge workshop with Microsoft and I was so excited about it. And I just let my self-sabotaging thoughts, my inner critic, come in and like tell me lies that weren't true. And I just didn't do well. That was probably one of the bigger lessons that I learned, of like, one, being more prepared, but 2, not letting your thoughts define you, or your fears define you, and letting them drive when you're doing something that important. So I could have handled that better, but basically the overarching like message here is that you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts aren't real. They're just like a story that you told yourself at some point, or someone told you at some point. Yep. And you can overcome them and like be even stronger by using your own power source.
Good advice. Right there. How have you grown personally then? So I guess that's sort of a personal growth that you would have had there, because you taught yourself that. But is there any other ways that you've sort of grown personally through your wisdom business?
Oh my God, so many. Because you figure it's been a year and a half that I've been in business. Before that, I had the yoga retreat business as well. And I shifted identities. So I shifted from being this like corporate America, kind of like hang your hat on a big name, having all the corporate perks, to not. So there was the element of humility, of like being humbled a bit. And then also learning I don't know, like I'm not just learning about coaching and learning about, I became a coach, of course. And so I've learned so much, like the feedback I've gotten from my family and people that are closest with me, my friends as well, is that I'm such a better listener and more thoughtful about the way in that I take in information and also communicate. So that's like one big piece of growth. So, but then what I meant to say was that I'm not just learning from a coaching standpoint, I'm learning from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So learning like things you need to know as an entrepreneur is so fascinating. So many of us like don't pay attention to the independent businesses and the small businesses that we have all over the world that really run the world, and how fulfilling that can be, even though it's not the stability that you particularly get from a corporate lifestyle, essentially. So that flexibility, the lifestyle of being able to do what you want when you want, not answer to someone, not have like big politics around you, defining that. And then also the way you define people, probably learning that, judging people based on what they did and not who they are.
It's subtracting and dividing between this is your work title and this is you are living a life. I think that's a really good differentiation there.
Yeah, and I went from like such a capitalistic city, a country where no one asks you what you do here. Like that's not Peruvian to do that. Like it's more like laid back, enjoy your, you don't eat lunch in front of the computer and have lettuce on your computer and your keyboard when you're what I did all the time. And so like more kind of like taking a beat, slowing down, and like how enjoyable life can be when you're present like that.
That's lovely to hear. What advice would you have to anyone who, obviously you've gone through, your journey is different, the reasons you started and moved and all that sort of stuff, but I guess it also relates on a number of levels as well. But what advice would you give to anyone who is looking to start a wisdom business?
I would say to just do it. So take action, basically. Like, don't let what I hear from everyone that's about to do it is like the intricacies get in the way. So like, I don't know how to start in the US, it's called an LLC. I don't know how to incorporate myself. Oh, well, I don't know how to do the bank account. Well, I have to choose the name first. All of those things, of those things just get in the way. Do it. Just do the thing. That's kind of the best piece of advice I could say. Like, do the thing that you're thinking about that you need to do, that you're dragging your feet on. Because if you don't do it, you'll never launch. You'll never do that.
It's like that self-sabotage, isn't it? It's like you keep coming out with excuses. Just do it.
Yeah, exactly. And those excuses are, as you said, they're self-sabotaging. So just move forward, just do it and jump into it and learn as you go. You don't have to know how to do things. Like, no one knows what they're doing. That's the other piece of advice. Everyone thinks that everyone else has it all together, but like no one really knows what they're doing. You just figure it out as you go.
Yeah, that's one major message that we always send out to people is do not compare yourself to others. Never do that. It's just not worth it. That's one, you're self-sabotaging or straight away by doing that because you're entering that thought. But two, it's just don't even bother comparing yourself because everyone's gone on a different journey. Everyone's, offering something different. You might think it's the same thing like yoga retreat, but they're very different because it's who's actually delivering it is different.
And also everyone has this idea that everyone else has it all together. Like, oh, they have it so together. They know what they're doing. And no one really does.
I was about to go into something which I won't, but I would love to ask this question. I do like asking my guests this question, which is what legacy would you like to leave?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I think that, it kind of speaks mostly to my mission and vision for the company. Yeah. Our mission is to offer a new perspective for you to be unapologetically yourself. And our vision is to help everyone live an authentic life. So the legacy that I want to leave is that I kind of unlocked the opportunity for you to be exactly who you are. And I do that by being exactly who I am. When I wasn't, that's when I was getting sick and it wasn't working for me at various corporate jobs or whatever. And when I was really authentically me, the stars align and everything seems to work. So though I have a million things going on, they're happening in the way they're supposed to. So the legacy of just one, connecting millions of people. I love being a connector and I love connecting people from all over the world. And two, just like letting you be yourself by just so courageously, so confidently, and so like badassly. That's a word. Being myself, being like exactly me.
Yeah, leading by example and just showing people that main word that you use there, which is unlock.
Yeah, like, are you writing your own story? Like, are you just like doing what you think that you should be doing? Or are you know how many people, times I see clients and it's like, no one told me I could X. It's like, who needed to tell you?
To tell you that, yeah. To give yourself your own permission. And
I get that question. I get that kind of like people wax poetic about me. Like, oh, it's so romantic. Like, oh my God, you live in Peru with a guy you met on Tinder on a yoga retreat. And wow. Like, first of all, it does sound super romantic, but it was so hard and like so complicated. One, two, the romanticization of someone, romanticizing someone else's life, you know, it's just that's also self-sabotaging. It's hiding behind participating in your own life. Yeah, you can romanticize anyone else's life. Go out and make yours. Like,
but that's comparing as well.
Yeah. And if you think that's so cool, go do it. Go on that yoga retreat or go quit your job and do it. Like, you can do that. You don't have to be like, oh my God, I wish I could. Then go do that. And you can do exactly that. And people I think they're scared to take the jump.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have that issue of giving ourselves that permission. I would love to ask if you've got any offer there that you'd like to share with our audience.
Sure. So I'd love for you to bring your corporation on to work with us. We'd love to come and partner with you, create a leadership program for you, give a workshop on one of our famous workshops on values. We'd like to come in to help out with your women's team often, but just set up a discovery session as our offer. It's a 30-minute discovery session to kind of see what we can do for your business and partner with you on what we could bring on. So I'd love for them to reach out either on my website, dfigconnects.com, or you can email me, Deanna at dfigconnects.com, and we can set something up.
Awesome. And I know DFIG, what it means, but what made you come up with literally DFIG?
DFIG, it's just it's just my name. So Deanna Figurito, so DFIG. Yeah. And people would call me DFIG often. And then I'm a connector. So the connects right there. To be honest, I didn't put very much thought into the name because I was literally like filing for the LLC and then running out of the United States. And like, I had it all set up. So that was one thing I didn't let me hold me back, but maybe we're in the market for a rebrand one of these days.
It's been fabulous to chat to, Deanna. Like, really amazing journey that you have been on and the challenges that were thrown at you and how you translated those challenges into opportunities to just start a new life somewhere completely different with someone who is completely like, you know, you weren't longer than 3 weeks, as you said, starting a family, starting a business. It's an amazing journey and I hope, you know, obviously you've inspired a lot of people through your journey, and hopefully this podcast, this conversation we've had inspires our audience as well to take a look at your details and the offer and everything that will be in our podcast summary, which will be below. And I invite, all of our listeners to be sure to click on the link below and don't forget to subscribe as well. Thank you so much again for your time, Deanna.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for having me. It was great meeting you.
Thanks for listening to the Wise Dome podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at Wise Dome Podcast, WISEDOME podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.